Welcome to But I Digress, a cocktails and conversation podcast with your hosts, Warren Smith and me, Irish Stewart. Come on in, honey.
Yes, welcome to another podcast of But I Digress with Warren and Irish. I am, of course, Warren, and, of course, in the virtual studio is Irish. How are you?
I'm good, Warren. How are you?
I'm doing very well. This podcast, as always, is, of course, cocktails and conversation. Two friends sharing stories, what's been going on during the week, how life is, of course, over a cocktail or at least a beverage of sort. And it's very special this week because it's Halloween. Ooh.
It's
Ooh. Sorry.
You sound like a ghost horse.
That's my carry-on Halloween. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's my camp ghost.
It sounds
Sorry.
relatively cynical.
Sid James walks up and says, "Are you a ghost? Oh, you are naughty." Sorry. Anyway, that was my carry-on ghost. There you go. So, how you going, Irish?
I'm all right. Tomorrow is my mother's birthday because, tomorrow is Halloween here. I think it's Halloween for you today, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's been basically a birthday week for my mother. So
Right.
we've been spending the week doing things. We went to a fall festival today and a farmer's market, and we bought some ridiculous things, and it was fun. And tomorrow, now I've come home and we've gotten the yard set up with our cemetery and our animatronic witch made of bones and a gigantic giant skull that talks. And I don't know, we're just out to scare the kids this year because they're starting to come back out.
Well, I have been warned to prepare for trick-or-treaters tonight. Because 2 years of lockdown, okay,
Yes.
in Melbourne, Australia. Now that Melbourne is out of lockdown, I have been warned to expect lots of children with masks knocking on doors. So I have got a shitload of chocolates in a big bowl by the front door in case it happens. It probably won't, to be honest with you. It probably won't. But
If it doesn't, then you have a lot of candy. I hope you bought stuff you liked. Because that's what I do.
Yes, I did. I bought lots of Bounty bars because I love them. Coconut and chocolate. Oh, I love them.
Yeah.
And
Is that the dark chocolate on it or milk chocolate on the outside?
they were milk ones. I just grabbed whatever I saw, to be honest with you.
No, I was just curious.
The dark chocolate ones are so much better.
Oh, really? Here
The
those are
dark
called
chocolate
Mounts.
Bounty bar, they're so good. But dark chocolate makes anything better. In my opinion.
I'm a recent convert to dark chocolate. I was not a fan of dark chocolate growing up, even though, in the, I don't know, because I don't know, you guys have Hershey's chocolate there?
You'd have to specially try to hunt it down, but I have had it before though.
They had a mixed bag of like little bites, like fun-sized candy bars when I was a kid, and they might still have it, but it had just like all the different candy bars that Hershey's made at the time, and one of them was the special dark. And even though I would eat those once in a while, they were so bitter. I said to myself, "Ooh, I don't like this." So I grew up really not liking it. But then recently I tried a Ghirardelli. It was like 90% cacao, and it was sea salt and dark chocolate. And oh my God, I just about died. I was like, I've never tasted. I didn't think I would like it. It didn't really have any sweetness to it at all, but it was wonderful. So I'm a recent convert to it.
Well, I once had a meal, which was, it came from a TV show called Floyd on Spain. Keith Floyd was a British celebrity chef in the 1990s, it would have been. And he did one where he went through all the different regions of Spain. And in one of them...
Stanley Tucci just did that with Italy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
And,
I just interrupted you again.
No.
It's the champagne.
We're here to digress. So, he did... where was it? I can't remember where he was in Spain, but he did... He's meant to be his ode to Christopher Columbus. Now, remember, this is before Christopher Columbus he was still kind of seen as a bit of a hero in the 90s, all right? So try to put that into perspective. And he's in Spain, so he did.
Clinton.
So well, that's true. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, that was wrong.
And he did this meal, which was pheasant in chocolate sauce. Okay, and it was meant to be the idea of Spain meets the new world. Chocolate.
Is it like
with
a mole?
I tried it. I actually followed it in the show, and I cooked it. Now, you have to use cooking chocolate. You cannot use Hershey's or Cadbury's or Mars, chocolate. You have to use proper cooking chocolate, which is incredibly bitter, of course, if you eat it.
It's not sweet at all.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You have to use that, but when that is braised down with the juices and it has to be a game bird. I think they used pheasant, but you can use duck or partridge or any sort of game bird. Anything, that's a wild bird, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay. And if you do that, and so you sear the bird off, you take it out, and then it then finishes itself off in the oven, where you've got then all that pan juice to which you add onion and garlic, white wine, parsley, thyme, and cooking chocolate. And you would be amazed when that is then poured over that wild game bird, which then comes out of the oven. It's amazing. It works so well.
In Latin America here in Mexico, there's a chocolate mole that they make. And there's lots and lots of different kinds of moles, and even lots and lots of different kinds of chocolate moles.
Right.
But it's a savory chocolate like that. But it's a sauce that you put on chicken and different other things like that. But it's got tons and tons of cocoa powder in it.
Yep.
Some of the recipes, somebody I know actually makes it and puts a little peanut butter in there, and there's cumin and cinnamon and chili powder and just like tomatoes and like tons of stuff. But it cooks down and cooks down and cooks down, and it's really like everybody's mole is special, and most of them are super delicious. I haven't really had a bad mole, but a lot of them use chocolate in there, and you wouldn't expect it because it's not sweet, So I do recommend people getting a chance to try a nice chocolate mole sometime if you can find a good one.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's I was quite stunned, because I didn't realize that chocolate could be a savory dish.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and quite amazed. But we are digressing from Halloween already.
I don't know. We were talking about food,
is there a food element to, because I'm an ignorant Australian, obviously on Halloween. Halloween does exist in Australia, but it's pretty much just, 1 out of 50 kids who might go trick-or-treating, or what sometimes happens is the local councils organise a kids' party in the park, in the local parks.
Yeah, they do that a lot here too, yeah.
And then the kids can go to that, and then they walk around the various different ghouly stands where a ghost or a wizard or someone gives them what you call candy, what we would call chocolate and sweets and so forth. And that way it's totally safe. The parents are there. It's all controlled, as, although the far right say, government-controlled nanny state, but I think it's a nice idea. It's a family-friendly thing, and the other thing too is the parents can take a bottle of wine, sit down and open that and drink that while the kids do the rounds. I mean, I think it's actually pretty cool.
Well, I guarantee you, any parent, really not any parent, but most parents that are taking their kids around trick-or-treating in the U.S. are probably drinking a little wine or something before they go, or on the route. Hopefully not driving. No. What were you going to ask me about?
Oh, no, I was asking you. No, is there a food element to Halloween in the US? But like Thanksgiving,
besides candy, yeah.
Besides candy is what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, is there do people have a Halloween meal or something? Like, is there? Because you've got to remember, for the vast majority of the world, Halloween is some trick-or-treating that they borrowed from the Americans, right?
Sure.
Halloween is such an... And I know that technically America took it from Ireland, and I get that, but
yes.
But it is now seen very much as an American institution.
Oh, sure. We commercialized the hell out of it. That's what we did.
It's like
Go America.
it's like Santa Claus, the idea of Santa Claus.
We commercialized the hell out of him, too.
You know, Coca-Cola supplied us with the current Father Christmas Santa Claus, but St. Nicholas and all the rest of it had so many different forms, even just 50 years ago. But now, in every country in the world, Santa Claus is the same. You know, it's like the grey alien. Like, you know, alien abduction. This is Halloween, I suppose, right? You know,
right.
Every single alien abduction now is a grey alien. Right?
That's not true. What about the reptilians and the tall, beautiful ones with blonde hair? Let's not get into that.
I thought that stopped.
Okay.
I thought that stopped. That was a 70s thing, though, wasn't it?
You need to...
All of that?
Warren, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Conspiracy theories do not go away. They just get deeper. Okay?
Yes.
Let's be honest, right. Okay?
Anyway.
I'm going to talk to you about food.
Okay?
Instead of
that.
Talking about
Halloween
talking
food.
About people in my family in an unpleasant way, and let's not do that. I don't think there's not a specific meal.
Right.
But, you know, just like with Thanksgiving, though, even though people sit down usually and have some sort of a meal, what you have varies vastly. Just like when you guys have Christmas dinners, a lot of times it's in your summertime, you eat seafood there. And, you know, that's absolutely, you know, my family eats a very proper British style prime rib dinner with Yorkshire pudding and, you know, or roast beef, just, you know, that kind of thing. But Halloween's different in the sense that most of the time when things are at a normal level, I think most people just do, if they're going to have a party or they want to do something fun for the kids or themselves, they try to make food that looks something scary or it's something that's delicious but has a theme to it. Like last year I did a charcuterie board that was on a Ouija board. I used that as the tray. And so I made one of the dips out of I formed a hand out of it and covered it with prosciutto and bits of like summer sausage and stuff sticking up out of it and put the hand on the planchette. So it was served like that. And then it had all the stuff around it. So, I mean, I think you just do stuff that is creepy and fun, depending on, you know, who you're serving. You may really easy make little witch hat cookies and things like caramel apples or candy apples, things that are harvest foods here, you know, things like that. Apples and stuff are apple bobbing. That's stuff that they used to do. So, I mean, That's the kind of thing they do on Halloween. Other than that, it's mostly one of a couple of things. It's either, like you said, kids being taken out trick-or-treating either around a neighborhood where their, you know, families know that they're, you know, they can watch them and go around. Some neighborhoods are really great for that. Other neighborhoods, not so much. And also some churches and things like that have discouraged Halloween because it's satanic. So they would have fall festivals at their church. Or they would do things like Hell House at their church to try to scare the kids into believing, because if not, you're going to burn in hell for all eternity. Because that's really the best way that you want to believe in something, out of fear of burning. So, you know, but I digress.
Oh no, there was a. It reminds me of the Sydney Mardi Gras, which happens every year, which is a gay and lesbian. Well, it's now a gay, lesbian, I will get this wrong because I've had some drinks, but I think everyone knows. Was it
LGBTQ is the acceptable term, but they've added some others onto the end of it that we can talk about later.
Okay, so anyway, it's that Sydney Mardi Gras. Okay, and it's been going since the 1970s, and it was. It's now become a huge family event. You know, that kids go. I mean, the army has a parade in it now. The Australian
Oh.
Army sends their gay members,
Yeah, well-
to march and all that sort of stuff in it, right? So
that's good.
it's become a bit. Even the gay police march in it, and all the rest of it. So it's
good.
actually become now a huge part of Sydney, right? People fly to Sydney to go and see it. I mean, it's not as big as the Rio Mardi Gras, or probably what's the big one in America? You have, is it in Louisiana?
That's a Mardi Gras also. That's Mardi Gras also. Yeah.
But this one is different in the sense that it's LGBTQ orientated. Okay?
Well, we have Pride here, so they do Pride parades.
Right, okay.
All over. So, yeah, like big ones all over, which is great.
But there used to be a political party, and their origins were from a politician called a horrible man called Fred Nile, who was the Reverend Fred Nile. And they, on the eve of every Mardi Gras, which used to be called the Gay Mardi Gras, but it's just called the Sydney Mardi Gras now. And he used to get everyone together in this big mass, right, all these traditions, and they would pray for rain.
Okay. Well, yeah.
You have to ask yourself, really?
I mean, do you have to ask yourself that? Because to be perfectly honest, there's always going to be those pieces of shit out there. I'm sorry.
I know. No, they are. Oh, they are. No, seriously, they are. I mean, it's like, really? You want to force your will on somebody else?
Of course they do.
So they're pieces of shit. That's it. Oh, God, we're digressing. How is this going from...
Look, that happens to me when I drink champagne. Well, let me just say... I don't drink champagne when I'm out with anybody because I am a cheap champagne drunk. Like, I only like to have one glass and I'm pretty buzzed, so. I think the bubbles go to my head.
I used to know somebody like that. It's like, used to go out, who's paying? Okay, champagne! and not that domestic rubbish. I want real champagne.
Yes, I only drink Dom Perignon, thank you.
Yeah, that's
that's not true. I did used to only drink Patron Silver if it was going to be tequila. That was the only one I would drink, but now I'm not so choosy.
My attitude now is, does it have alcohol? Yeah, right, that's fine. Bring it on. I used to, in my younger years, be so snobbish about alcohol.
You? Oh my gosh.
I really was. I was so snobbish, and it all changed when I met this lovely woman. Whose favourite drink, well, at least I think this is where it all changed, whose favourite drink was cask. This is cask, the goon bag, right? Or what do you call boxed wine? You call it, in the box.
Oh, okay.
Right?
We've discussed that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Lambresco with orange juice. It was probably the most disgusting mixture I have ever tasted. It was a witch's brew. I'll be honest. It really was horrible.
That's assault. Okay, you watch your mouth.
Right. But I suddenly realised she loved it. So what did it fucking matter?
Well, you don't have to drink it.
No. See, that was my exact point. That you are so spot on. I don't have to drink it. So what does it matter? Why? As
long as I don't have to order it at the bar for them either, I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
I can drink whatever you want. But if I have to order at the bar, we're going to fight.
Yeah, it's a bit like, I've got to hide my face. I know, yeah. But yes, this whole idea then was have I told you the story about this young girl, and I'll say girl, she would have been 17, she had a child, probably would have been about 1 year old, maybe a bit more, 18 months old. So she obviously had the child very young, okay? Mind you, she probably wasn't 17, she was probably 19 and looked younger,
Possibly, yes.
Right, but she was in the supermarket and I was standing behind, and she was buying some chicken breast.
Am I going to have to scold you after this story? I just want to know ahead of time.
No, I don't think so. I really.
Okay, all right.
No,
I'm just checking. I'm sorry. Go on.
And she's buying some chicken breasts and a jar of ready-made sauce. So these are these sauces. I think this thing was called Chicken Tonight. Right? So
I remember that commercial.
Oh, okay, yeah. So all you did was you chop the chicken up, you poured the sauce on it, you put it in the oven, and then 20 minutes later you opened it up and it was cooked, right?
It was cooked, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was a helper for the kitchen.
Yeah. And anyway, and she was talking to the you call them clerks or clerks, I think, the checkout operator.
Only if their name is Clark.
Oh, okay,
but clerks, yes.
Yeah, and anyway, the checkout operator was sort of saying, chicken, what are you doing? Because there was no one around. And they were obviously were just a bit chatty. And she said, I met this man, and he's coming around tonight, and I thought I'd cook him something really special. And this was like Chicken Tonight sauce, ready, right. But he was this single mum, okay, with a child, and I suddenly thought to myself, because before I witnessed this, I would have just laughed this away as, oh, how pathetic, how stupid, and actually witnessing it, I suddenly went, do you know there's more love in that meal? It doesn't matter what it tastes like. There is so much love in it. She's gone to
But see, here's another thing you need to think of too. Just because you have expectations for something to be of a certain or higher quality, doesn't necessarily mean that wasn't to her, one, something that maybe cost her more money than she really wanted to spend, and two, maybe she grew up in a place where that was something of a luxury.
That's my whole point. That is my whole point, was that to her, she was pulling out all the stops. Like, this was such...
That was a big deal.
And I'm thinking to myself, Warren, you are such a snob. Like, you are such a snob. And I actually felt really guilty just even witnessing it, It was I don't know if that makes sense, but
Did you feel guilt? Okay, so let me ask you a question. Let me clarify something with that. Did you feel guilty because you were watching it, or did you feel guilty because you all of a sudden realized that this existed, and that maybe we shouldn't jump to judging people just based on maybe what's in their grocery store line?
I felt guilty because I knew I was judging people that I shouldn't judge.
Thank you.
And I feel guilty that I was I was a bad person. Like,
what though? You recognized it though at that moment. So that alone is a big deal. I mean, I talked to you before. Absolutely. Finish it.
This was a very long time ago. This was not last week. All right. I just
I didn't think it was.
Okay.
No, but the fact is that you recognized it. And that's how you change. You have to become aware of a problem to know it needs to be fixed. Because if you don't know it needs to be fixed, if you don't know it exists, then how do you know that it needs to be fixed? And you have to know something needs to be fixed in order to start to want to change it. Because it takes work. I talked to you before about people I had been in the car with, and they made a comment about a girl who was panhandling in the street because she had the ends of her hair were purple, and it had grown out. To me, as somebody who has colored my hair a million colors, whenever on a whim, I know how long it takes to grow it out.
Oh, yeah.
This girl had maybe 3 or 4 months hair growth out from where she had obviously had the purple color in their hair, and they immediately saw them panhandling and made the comment, well, you had money for hair dye, out loud. And I said to them, I don't know what you think maybe that helps anything. I said, you don't know what that person's life has been like in the last 4 or 5 months. And it's not right for you to sit here and judge them because they had, how dare they have a little time to put some dye in their hair maybe 3 or 4 months ago? What if they had lost their home a month ago or 2 weeks ago? Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and then the realization hit me at that moment. It's not that I I guess didn't know this stuff, but for myself, listening to somebody else say something like that and my whole being just being disgusted by that statement. And really, and then they said, and then the response to me was priorities. And I said, I am sick to my stomach now, and I'm going to stop talking. So, see, that's the thing is they're not even aware of it. Even when I told them that I thought it was a problem and why, they still didn't get it. So at least you were aware of it. At least you were aware, you judged them like that. Well,
absolutely. I mean, in a situation like that, I'm sorry, but a $9 bottle of hair dye would not have got them into a house.
No. And for all I know, they could have used Kool-Aid to dye their hair because I've done that in high school. Okay?
But even if they had have gone and bought a bottle of $10 hair dye, right, just for argument's sake, is if they had have saved that $10... Because
they really wanted purple hair.
The idea that would have taken them off the street and put them into a house for $10... If anyone thinks that you can get off the street and into a house for $10, they're fucking insane.
Yeah.
The
I was
logic
just
behind
grossed
it is,
out by it.
I know. Look, I know.
I don't know how we got on this again.
No. Let's not. Let's not. I can tell you
I've had one glass of champagne. I don't even know where I am right now.
I think I told you I had a 3 olive martini before. So
you did, and I was jealous.
Oh, yes. It was very nice. Oh, it was very nice. Yes, I have to admit. And actually, talking about martinis, I did notice that there were all these people who had been running all of these the latest James Bond movie reviews on YouTube, right? And, it's like, wokeism has killed James Bond. And then suddenly the movie came out. They took all their fucking reviews down because they actually finally watched the film and realised they were talking shit.
Yeah, you know how I feel about him as James Bond.
Well
it's the last one.
Because Barbara Broccoli had fucking fucked them over, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
I think it's always beautiful when somebody fucking fucks someone.
Yeah, I know. All these far right woke, they're obsessed with wokeism and all the rest of it, right? And Barbara Broccoli had done it. I swear she'd done it intentionally. She had taken a black actress, made that actor, I should say, but female actor. I know you don't say actress anymore. Black actor,
some people do.
And who was a female, and then they were the new 007. And of course, this is what caused all of this thing. But of course, it's part of the story because Bond's retired, and 007 is a reusable number. Right, she wasn't called James Bond.
They're not going to be James Bond. Yeah,
that's right. And so the whole thing, it's all part of this big, and it ties all the movies from Casino Royale, to today. Blofeld comes back, and all the rest of it. So the entire Daniel Craig era is one giant movie. That's the way.
That's now, what right? I loved about it. It just went story to story. I love it.
Suddenly, so all of these far right anti-woke people suddenly all went, "Oops!" Had to take all their fucking reviews down because they'd been reviewing the movie without seeing the fucking movie.
Well, that's what they do. It's an outrage machine. They just make up some stuff to be mad about so that maybe some people will read it and also agree with them and say, yeah, other people feel this way too, so I have a right to feel this way. It's just disgusting, to be honest with you. At least watch it before you make a judgment, okay?
Exactly right.
If it's bad, then just say it's bad. But, and say why it's bad, but don't judge it before you see it.
If you don't like a movie, that's fine. We've talked about... a bit Halloween-y, the Ghostbusters with the female cast.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
that.
I think it's an hilarious film. I love that version of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Now, so many people I know hate it. Absolutely hate it. And I can't...
They were going to hate it anyway.
And every time I try to, I don't know, edge a little bit more into just why do you actually hate it? And it's because it's got an all-female cast. It's really why they hate it. I can't find any other serious reason why they had. Now, there are some people who might say, I just didn't find it funny. Well, that's fine. I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't honestly believe that you could say that you found Ghostbusters 2 hilarious.
Nobody found Ghostbusters 2 hilarious, Warren. Let's be honest.
But you found Ghostbusters with the female cast not funny. I don't believe that, personally. I think that's people... It's
misogyny. That's all it is. I mean, think about the Ocean's 11 movie, the Ocean's movies. And they did Ocean 11, Ocean 12, Ocean 13, and then they went and did Ocean 8, which was the all-female cast.
Yes.
Which I loved.
I did too.
A lot of people didn't like it simply because it was an all-female cast, but I thought it was one of the better Ocean's movies. It was certainly better than the one with Julia Roberts pretending to be Julia Roberts. I mean, that was just the fucking worst.
Now, hang on. That was Oceans, was that 13? Or was that 12? The one in Italy. That was 12. It was the one, they were in France. And they brought in Bruce Willis played himself. Bruce Willis, I know. Yes. Yeah. That
which one I'm talking about. So, look, I don't know what was going on with that, but the other ones I really enjoyed. And let's be honest, I think the whole cast, especially of the first Oceans, was great. So I think Ocean's 8 had a lot to live up to, but I think they stood it. Yeah, and they did it really well. The cast was great. Yeah, the cast was great. Some people didn't like it because it was an all-female cast.
And I don't get this. That movie had every bit of twist to the story that the original, well, when I say the original Ocean's 11, but you know what I mean. We'll just call it.
Yes. Not the one from the 60s.
Yeah, okay, we're right.
It's a much different film.
It's a very different film.
Yes.
But it had every bit of twist, to the story that we'll call it the original, just for argument's sake. Had.
The modern original.
The modern original, right? And the cast was great. The acting was really, really good.
Yeah, the combination of the cast was.
In fact, I thought it was cast really, really well, actually, be honest. I don't think they could have found better actors, actually, to play those particular roles. So why would you dislike it? I don't...
I don't know anybody that disliked Ocean's 11. No one I know.
No.
But Ocean's 8, again... The only reason not to like it, honestly, because it had a good story and the casting was amazing. The only reason not to like it is because you don't like a film with women in it. Except unless they're taking their clothes off and, and just playing kind of a sidekick role. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a real problem. And, in scripts that I've written, even when I have a really strong female character in them, everybody wants me to put a love story into it. Oh, they should get together with so-and-so. Well, why would I do that? There's no reason for that to happen. Well, everybody loves a love story. It's like, yeah, but this isn't a love story. It takes place over like a week. There's no reason to add that into the story, but they really feel like women need a love story in an action film or in any kind of film. They feel like the people who are at the top, they keep telling me she's got nothing going on. It's like, she has shit tons going on. She's just not trying to get a date. Like, what's the fucking problem? So I think it's misogyny in a lot of ways. I think a lot of times, even today, we're fighting to get the same acceptance in the same kinds of roles. Think about, it happens to people with, that are differently abled too. I mean, honestly, think about somebody like, and I don't mean to be insulting if I call him differently abled, but Peter Dinklage. So he's an amazing actor.
Oh yeah,
just a brilliant actor. And for the longest time, and even now, he has refused to take roles that were written for a dwarf other than the Game of Thrones, okay? Somebody with dwarfism, because he accepted that role because even in the book, the character had dwarfism, but he wasn't an elf,
Yeah.
Those were
Yeah.
the roles for people with dwarfism. And if you didn't play a munchkin or an elf, like a Christmas elf, then you weren't really going to get a role. You had to be comic relief somewhere, or you had to fit into one of those places. But he refused to do that. And so the ableism that kept other people from having roles like this, he went after roles that had been written for people of normal height. And I say normal again, not being, trying to be judgmental, but of average height, I would say. So, and he gets them because he's a brilliant actor.
But not only is he a brilliant actor, I've seen him twice now on Saturday Night Live, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he steals the fucking show whenever he's on. He is so clever. The one, Space Pants. Oh my fuck! If no one has seen the Space Pants clip, you have got to fucking see it. And the other one too, the Glory Hole Restaurant. That is fucking hilarious because he plays it so deadpan straight. In fact, the thing I love, but it's not just deadpan straight. He plays it like, because he's there like, I'm this man of influence. I know the city, like I'm so hip and cool. I know. We've all met people like that, who are like, I know this city, right? And he plays it like that. But the fact that it's a glory hole restaurant with him playing it like that, it is so fucking funny. It is hilarious. I love the man. I think he's brilliant.
Oh, I do too.
Brilliant.
And even before I really knew him as an actor, once I found out that up until Game of Thrones, and still not even after that now, he doesn't take any roles that were written for people with dwarfism specifically because of the fact that he didn't want to be typecast as a dwarf or like an elf or something like that. I had way more respect for him because he was willing to put himself out there and show people he demanded to be considered in exactly the same way of people of average height. And he was taken seriously because he didn't allow them to take him any other way. And so I have a lot of respect for that. And I think we need more people to do that. And as we keep pushing society more and more, it's going to change things a lot. But we're still probably always going to have that side of the population that's going to cry about wokeism because they're too fucking asleep. That's just literally it.
I know people that will not watch Star Trek Discovery because there's a gay couple in it, and I have
people are bigots.
And I have to ask, first of all, they're secondary characters in the story anyway, right?
If that would keep you from watching a show, you're a bigot.
Yeah. So why is that an issue that would stop you watching the show, right?
Is it a guy? Was it a guy that said this?
It's more than one guy. It's been several guys, actually. More than
I feel like it's because it makes their dicks twinge a little bit, and they don't know what to think about that. So, yeah. I don't know. And I'm not sorry I said that because I think everybody knows what I mean.
No. I think everyone does.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I do have a problem with trying to keep others from having it.
Oh, no. But this is not about one. This is like, for instance, with Discovery, I know at least 4 people who will not watch it because of those 2 characters. And that is, I kind of think, a bit weird. The other one, too, is a couple of people I know won't watch, oh, my God, the Apple show about, it changes history because the Soviets land on the moon first. Man
in the High Castle?
No. It's a bit like that. It's an alternative universe. Because the Soviets get to the moon first and it changes history.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Oh my God! But it's there's been 2 seasons so far, and what happens is it throws the women's lib movement, if you like, forward. So to the extent that women's liberation starts in 1969, not in, I suppose, what a lot of people might say in the mid-80s, to when you really start to see women start to be accepted.
When does that happen?
You get what I'm trying to say, in the sense that in the 1980s, you started to get the idea that women could command a warship in the Navy. They could fly aeroplanes. They could do all this sort of stuff. The idea about this show is that it started in 1969, is what I'm trying to say. It changes, and I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it because they say, oh, it's wokeism. And it's like, well, no, it's an alternative history. What's wrong with an alternate history? Do you know what I mean?
It makes them feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel like it's a social commentary against who they are because they have to center everything on themselves all the time. And I say they, and it's a broad statement, but I'm grouping some people together, and I'm not sorry.
and sorry, I was not saying that women suddenly became equal with men in 1985. That's not what I meant. Okay, because women are still fighting for their rights. That's not what I actually meant. What I meant
especially in Texas and Georgia.
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
what I meant was that by the mid-'80s, women were starting to get jobs that they had never conceived of before, is what I meant.
Oh, yeah, that was the first time like most of the women were starting to leave the home.
Yeah, I didn't actually mean that that's what
I wasn't scolding you.
No, but some people
Not this
might
time.
think that Warren has a very bad memory of history. It's not really what I meant, yeah.
Actually, you have a relatively good memory of history when it's considered, even against some of the most scholared people.
I don't know about that. But then again, I am the sort of person who sits back on a Saturday night and reads about medieval history with a glass of scotch when other people are out going boogie party, and I'm there reading about fucking knights and stuff, But
I want to know who's out yelling boogie. I would like to stay away from them.
Yes, I know. I was just they don't actually do that at my age, but you know what I mean.
Well, maybe some people do. You don't know.
I could have done that better visually. It was a bit hard to actually kind of do verbally, but
I think people not wanting to watch certain types of shows because certain groups of people are in them, I think it happens a lot. And it's a bigotry and racism thing for the most part, because I know somebody that refuses, even though they love sci-fi, refuses to watch the show Lovecraft Country, even one season, like the one season we got. And when I ask them why, they're just not interested in it. Okay, for no reason, because I know for sure that they're interested in this subject matter in general, but I think they didn't like the portrayal and the casting. And because I say that because it's something that no matter what kind of show it is, if it's something that's like filled with trans people or something, they're just not interested in it. If it's got a black cast, they're just not interested in it.
It kind of goes back to what I was saying before with some of my friends. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's an uncomfortable conversation to have to keep having with somebody. When you suggest a show and they're like, oh, I'm just not interested in it. And you see a pattern and you're just like, huh.
Yeah.
Wonder.
Yeah, no, I get you. You see a pattern. Yeah, no, I get that. It's very interesting. I just finished reading the book My Adventures with Sheena, which is the biography of making Sheena Queen of the Jungle, not your version, the 1980s version in Kenya.
Okay.
And it was written by the producer, I've forgotten his name now, the Israeli gentleman. I've forgotten his name now. And it was a really interesting read, a very simplistic read, though, unfortunately. I was really hoping it would go into a little bit more depth than it actually did.
Is that Doug Schwartz? Who
no,
is it?
No. Hang on. I've got to take... I'll be back in one sec. Just elevator music. Just one sec.
What am I supposed to do? Sing? Let's not do that. Warren, why didn't you just pause this? Warren.
Sorry, I'm back. I had to go to the other side of the study.
You should have just paused that.
No, that's all right. Yoram bin Ami. Sorry, Yoram bin Ami. YORAMBENAMI, who's an Israeli producer, works in Hollywood, or did work in Hollywood. I don't know if he does anymore. It was I bought it because obviously I buy and collect anything which is Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, as you well know.
I do very well.
But there is a preface in it, and it also finishes in the last chapter when he talks about reviews and so forth of the movie. And he says, Sheena is a movie that should never have been made and could never be made today and should never be made today. And I thought that's a really interesting comment, and I thought I agree with him. Like, I really do. I mean, I do agree.
I agree with you too. I agree with him too.
You could not make Sheena in the traditional 1950s comic book.
The white
version.
savior character? No,
yes,
you can't.
Right, okay. Which, unfortunately, both TV versions and the movie were very much. Okay. So I fully get that, and I do agree with that. However, and he touches on the fact that in 1999, Sheena was reborn. And he does touch on this, but then he doesn't go into any detail. And then he keeps talking about how Sheena can never be remade, but then forgets to say that Sheena is no longer a white woman in Africa. Sheena is now a mixed-race woman in Central America. It's a very different character.
Now, is that in the comics then?
In the comics, but this is where it grows from, right? So now Sheena has been a mixed race woman she's half white, half Native American in Central America. So she's very much in her own world, if you like. She's more out of touch in the sense that her parents were from. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, because we have the issue with the fact that if you go into the real depths of it, her father was a dictatorial politician and her mother was a sort of Native American who was kind of like corrupted, who was killed in a plane crash, and then Sheena was then raised in Central America by local indigenous people. So she is kind of 50% indigenous anyway, right? So the modern day Sheena is very, very different. It's not the racist, but Sheena was not at the time when it was written meant to be racist. It just now is fucking racist, if you know what I mean.
No.
It wasn't.
Because society has changed.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So the things, that's absolutely true.
And I was a little bit disappointed that this book was written in 2020, and he just hadn't bothered to do that bit of research. I thought that was I don't know. Is that just me? Am I stupid or?
I agree that there could have been more research done at the end, but that didn't fit the narrative of what they were trying to say.
Yeah, that's true enough.
But you and I have talked about the concept because of where I've been working on Sheena in the past and stuff, and knowing people that I do, that there was some talk about actually creating that type of character for TV, and it's not going to work out because of the way the rights between Europe and America and stuff, unfortunately. But that definitely was something that they were talking about. So it's just probably not going to happen.
It always concerns me.
It could still happen. But
it could, but it always concerns me a bit when people sort of say, "Well, why don't we make Sheena black?" And so, well, hang on. Sheena doesn't live in Africa, so why would she be black? She lives in South America, right? But Sheena has been in Central America since 1999. Sheena is no longer an African unless you want to hang on to that old world concept, right? So it's a little bit like James Bond is not Sean Connery anymore. It's Daniel Craig.
Right.
Or Craig, right?
Yeah, it's still white guys. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, point taken. Ka-ching. Yeah, all right, point taken. But I think you get what I mean.
I do.
I don't know. That's my rant anyway. I'll end it there. Yeah, it's just my rant. That's it. I have them all the time. And I've been talking too much. I want to hear your voice.
Well, I've been talking too. I don't know what you want me to say to you.
No. Sorry, that was just really silly.
You really put me on the spot, Warren. Now I feel super uncomfortable.
No, that's just
because
me.
You know what a wallflower I am.
No, this is my Sid James.
You didn't have to give such a belly laugh there with that one.
I know. But actually, we mentioned before the idea of nobody thought Ghostbusters 2 was funny. Now, I've had this conversation before with some people, and I'd like to know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a time when a sequel was better than the original? We're talking obviously in a movie sense.
Yeah. That's a hard question. I think Empire Strikes Back was a better movie maybe than A New Hope, which was the original Star Wars film. Now, please don't come at me, people. I loved A New Hope, okay? But out of the first 3 films,
I was about to say Irish's Twitter handle is.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, go ahead, come at me. I don't care.
No.
No, I think I loved, and I saw the original Star Wars: A New Hope in the theater. We've talked about this 37 times one summer. The summer it came out. My grandparents kept just taking us back to the movie theater, to the mall. My cousin and I would just watch it over and over again. My grandmother at the time, it was, it was in this early, mid 70s. So, we were just left in the movie theater while she went shopping. She'd come back and pick us up later. So, I love that film. We've talked before about how Rogue One really filled in some holes for me as an adult. I was just giddy over it because of the scene with Vader and you get to see what was on the other side of the door. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think Empire was a better movie. I don't know. I think some people like Jedi better. But yeah, I think that one as a sequel was probably better than the original overall, even though I'm a purist and I really love the original one. I don't want to talk about the last 3. And the second 3, so, I mean, it had potential, could have been good. The first 2 of the last 3, which were the first 3 technically, let's not get confusing. They weren't so bad. The last of those doesn't exist, and we shall never speak of it again. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also like Star Trek, so just in case anybody wonders. Well, and honestly, it probably, I think in the Harry Potter films, because I'm a geek, the stuff I like. I think probably because it was a sequel, even though I really loved the original one, was really cute, and they introduced you to the whole wizarding world, I thought probably Prisoner of Azkaban was the best of the films.
Okay.
So, again, sequel. And then the Marvel films. Probably Civil War was my favorite one. So that was definitely a sequel. So
although but we're in about film number 7 by that stage, though, aren't we? We're not really number 2.
But see, Iron Man had 3 films. Those were the sequels to those.
Yeah.
So even though, Civil War, wasn't that Captain America? Yeah, Captain America.
That was Captain America. Right?
Okay,
yeah.
So it was
but that was number
of the Captain America film.
No, it was number 3. No, there was Winter Soldier before that.
Oh.
So
okay, you're right.
3,
so Civil War was after that. So yeah, it was the. No, I think you're right because I've had champagne and
it's okay.
I'm going to be horrified if I'm wrong.
I don't view Captain America: Civil War as a Captain America film, though. It's an Avengers film. I don't know why it's called Captain America: Civil War.
Because technically it was a Captain America film, so technically
it's an Avengers film. I mean, it's not all the Avengers.
But all of them are Avengers films. That's the thing.
Well,
okay?
yeah, I know.
Listen.
Yeah.
All collies are dogs, but not all dogs are collies. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, I think there are times when a sequel is sometimes better than the first film. Now, when it comes to trilogies, for the most part, think about Indiana Jones. The second one was the weak point, in my opinion.
Very much.
The first one and the third one I enjoyed.
Yes.
So I think a lot of times we get that. We get a great first one, we get a terrible second one, and we're sandwiched with a decent or acceptable one on the other side sometimes. Yeah, I could have really done without the second Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, I know. That was...
It was a
yeah,
big gross out contest.
Yeah, I know. And the idea that they would make a prequel for it was a bit... I mean, you're only in your second film and you're making a prequel. It was a bit weird.
Yeah. And then they gave him a kid sidekick, okay? You don't, everybody knows you don't work with kids or animals. It just fucks the whole storyline up.
But I think he just made
he was
the
a
Goonies.
good actor.
But he was
yes.
in but
he
the
played
Goonies
Data in the Goonies.
But the Goonies was before Indiana, wasn't it? Or
I believe it. No, I think it was after. I think it was after. I think he did Indiana Jones first, and then the Goonies came out because he was a little older in the Goonies.
His performances in both were fantastic, though.
Oh no, I'm not saying the kid himself was a bad actor.
Yeah.
But I just, it's like when they did the Mummy films with Brendan Fraser.
Don't get me started on how bad they are. In my opinion.
But see, the first one I enjoyed because here's the thing: it doesn't have to be a great movie for me to. It doesn't have to be an Oscar winner, but I like to be entertained, and the first one entertained me. The second one was pretty bad, but I could stomach it. The third one with the kid just kill me right now. Okay,
yeah.
It was the second one that had the little kid. No, I think it was the third one. I can't remember. But wherever the little kid was in it was really bad.
Yeah.
I think the third one was where the kid was more grown up. And they
I think the second one they're married and they've got a kid. I think that's the second one.
Okay, so the second one is the bad one then.
Yeah.
The third one I think wasn't quite as bad as the second one.
Yeah.
So I think there a lot of times, and I don't understand why this happened. Okay, a movie is great, and people... they clamor for a sequel, and so it takes them forever, a decade, to write a sequel. Think about Finding Nemo and then Finding Dory. People waited forever for that sequel. They were very excited. The story was weak. The actors were good, but the storyline was weak. Why? It took them 10 years to write it. Why was it weak? Did it really take them maybe a month to write it?
Yeah.
I have a real problem with that kind of thing. Like the Mary Poppins film, okay? The original Mary Poppins. I love that movie.
It's terrible, but I fucking love it. It's terrible, but I love it.
Yeah, it's a kitschy,
you can hate it, but still,
I don't hate it. Well, I think of it from the time period. Because it was great for the time period.
But unless you were fucking from the East End of London, in which case you would be watching that going...
No, I get it. It had some stereotypes.
But at the same time, but it's still a fantastic film. I think it holds up today. Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. Are you kidding me?
I mean,
this is cinema royalty. I mean, we're talking about
the new one with Emily Blunt playing her, like she was a great replacement for Julie Andrews. I'm sorry. Honestly, I thought she did a fantastic job as Mary Poppins, but why wait that long to create a sequel and have such a weak story?
Just don't think it should have been
done.
What
the hell was that whole bathtub sequence with the fish? That wasn't necessary. No. And so it does make me upset that a classic film like that, people waited forever for the sequel to come out, and then it was just a waste of time going and money, honestly. I loved Emily Blunt. I thought she was great, but the rest of it was just awful.
I think there are some times where a sequel, because remember too, a sequel can be a prequel, right? So put that if you want to. I just need to say that first. Sometimes a sequel is not better than the original film, but oh my God, it works so well with the original film, even though it's made 30 years later. And I'll
tell me which one you're talking about. Yeah,
The Thing.
Tell me an example.
The Thing.
The Thing.
Okay. Now, John Carpenter's Thing was made in the early 80s, I think, from memory. They then made The Thing, which is the prequel to John Carpenter's Thing, in the early thousands. Now, I actually think that movie holds up because we get to see what happened at the Norwegian base before we got to the American base. So I thought the movie worked really well and it was very clever because it answered all the questions about the spaceship and about the creature, and it went into much more medical depth, if you like, about the creature and how it worked. The fact that this was a like a social creature at an atomic level. That would and even though John Carpenter had dealt with that in the 1980s, I think it was a bit beyond audiences at the time. I don't think they could quite get their grips about the idea of a social organism. Like it was a multi-organism that was one organism. Like it was a bit too much to try and grasp. Where the prequel in the early thousands, that it kind of, audiences are now at a point where they can go, oh yeah, I understand DNA now. DNA makes sense now. We know what, like, do you know what I mean? And I think that film works really, really well. But I was going to say, I think two examples of where a sequel absolutely crushes the original movie is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Where
absolutely,
I think I still stand by the fact I think it's the best Star Trek movie ever made. But
I know people that would agree with you on that. I have an affinity for the newer cast that they had, and I don't know why, but I do. Those movies were fun, and I'm sad they're not making them anymore. But I agree with you. I do.
Even
Wrath
though
of Khan was amazing.
Even though
compared to the original.
Even though there is a major plot line, which of course every Trekkie will tell you about, and that is that Chekhov never met Khan. But apart from that, because Chekhov wasn't deployed to the Enterprise when they met Khan. So
yes.
But apart from that, who cares? One of the arguments was that he would have been a lower decker, and he did actually know Khan and may have met Khan. But the whole idea that Khan would have recognised him, that's maybe a bit over the top. But
who knows? Anyway. Maybe he's got one of those memories, you know? So people never forget a face.
It is, especially too now with the new series of Star Trek Lower Decks, it is conceivable it could have actually have happened. So there is that. My second one is Aliens, Alien 2. I still believe, and I think it is a much better movie than Alien.
Really?
Well, I think it's much better as it's much more enjoyable, but because I think that Alien is actually, this is just my personal opinion, and I know I'm going to get fucking cut down for this. I think it's just a B-grade movie with a shitload of money on special effects and hire in a heap of really good actors. But it's still a B-grade movie. Aliens goes the next step.
Right. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I really liked the first one. Don't get me wrong, but I think Aliens was the better. Well, it was the better of them. Which remind me though, which was the one where they found the little girl Newt? Is that one?
No, that's Aliens. That's Alien 2. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. Is that the second one where she found Newt?
Yeah, that's the second one. Yeah.
Okay, because that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, to me, where the character, but was she in Aliens 3? She was. Like, she appeared in Aliens 3 as well, didn't she?
No, Newt is killed in the spaceship before Aliens 3. It depends which version of Aliens 3 you watch. In the long version, we find out that Newt was killed. In the short version, it's just not even mentioned. She's just like forgotten about. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's why I didn't realize it. Yeah. Okay, so the second one was where Newt was. You're right. I think that one was the better of the two films of the first two. Yeah. What did you think about the crossovers between Alien and Predator?
I would say, let's make some money from a video game now that the one company owned the rights to both films. Because that's all it was about. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I get that. But what did you think of the concept and the storyline? What did you think of that?
There is a great scene in the second one when the father says monsters don't exist. He opens up the window and the alien rips him out through the window. I mean, that is actually, I think, a very clever scene, to be honest. People would say, "Oh, it's obvious." Yeah, but it had never been done before. I mean,
Well,
it
yeah, I mean, a
never.
lot of stuff yeah.
That had never been done before, and in fact, that's actually ripped off in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Right, the monster in the closet. He opens up the closet.
Yeah.
There really is a guy in the closet. You know what I mean? A closet.
Yeah.
So I'm becoming so American. Cupboard, your closet. You go. Anyway, and
how are you becoming so American?
well, I just
am
said
I having
closet.
a terrible?
I just
am I wearing
fucking
off
said,
on you?
Yeah, you must be. I just said closet. I can't believe it.
How many times have I said the word closet to you?
I don't know. It's just you just sinking in there. You know, it's like
I just ooze into your pores
exactly
just
right.
from all the way on the other side of the planet.
That's
what
exactly
Americans do.
Yeah,
We're insidious.
But look, if you forget that Prometheus was made, and then the movie after Prometheus, which I've forgotten what it was called, Alien, not
Resurrection?
No, that was before. That was Alien 4. Okay. Which a lot of people have said was unnecessary. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
What movie is necessary?
But I know. But I get, and I kind of get Alien Resurrection. I don't actually think it's a... I think the idea of where they took the story is actually very clever. But it doesn't work in well with where they've gone with Prometheus and then the movie that followed it, which I forgot what it's called, whatever the fuck it's called, right?
I can't remember either.
Okay. And
I'm not going to look it up.
Well, you know, the idea of these what are they called, xenomorphs or whatever, they're all created by the android David, and so David is God. He becomes a god to a species. I don't know. I know there is meant to be a third movie which is meant to then link Prometheus back directly to Alien, and it's meant to then close the circle. Okay, but until that movie is made, I'm still because I don't know. I think them trying to make a story. It's a bit like, you know, with all the Star Wars, where we got those Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, and what was it? Star Trek 4, or was it Star Trek 5? I can't remember. Star Trek 4 was about a fucking trade war. I mean, seriously, how boring can you make a fucking sci-fi movie when you base it around a trade war? It's like Donald Trump versus China. You know, it's like, really?
Did you see Dune? I mean, I'm sorry. And I know I'm going to get dragged for this. Okay, so here's the thing. The new Dune movie.
I haven't seen the new one. I've seen the new one.
Okay. I'm just going to say, did you read the book?
No, I haven't, but I understand what the story's about, though.
Yeah, okay, so, but you saw the one from the 80s, right?
Oh, yes.
The Sting in it.
And I can't get over the fucking blistery faces. It's so disgusting. I just can't.
It's so disgusting. Okay, but see, the one from the 80s people hated because it wasn't like the book, right? So this one they've done, okay, and so it's beautiful. It's like the book. I'm sure the fans are thrilled, but see, here's my problem with it. It was probably the most dragged on, boring thing I've watched in a long time. Now, it was beautiful. And I understand Dune is a massive, story. It's massive. And this is the first story out of many that will set up the story. But see, the thing is that nothing really happened through the whole thing, except for, I'm not going to give away spoilers and stuff, except for a really small section. It wasn't really anything that was very exciting at all. And I had to agree with the tweet that I saw about it, which was probably the most humorless movie that they've ever seen. Apart from a joke that Jason Momoa's character cracks in the first 10 minutes, and that's literally the only levity in the entire film, even though it was kind of a lame joke. I actually enjoyed him in the film. I have been critical of him in the past, even though I think he's probably a great guy with a great sense of humor and probably has a really good sense of humor about himself. Doesn't take himself too seriously. this was a good role for him. It was something that he was believable in. But it was difficult to watch because I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the books. So for anybody that was going to step into this from kind of outside, even if you really knew the storyline and you knew what the book was like, you're not really going to be excited about it. But I think people who were fans of the books, that were real fans of the books, that were especially really disappointed in the 80s version of it because it wasn't like the book, I think they're going to be really happy. Okay. Zendaya was beautiful, of course, as always. And she didn't appear that much. I know she's going to come in more in the second one. But when you have a long story and you have to spend the entire first movie setting up the story to even get to a part that's even remotely exciting, it's difficult, to enjoy it, really. So I don't want people to yell at me or anything, but it wasn't my favorite thing to sit and watch for 2.5 hours in recent memory. It wasn't my most favorite thing, but I'm gonna watch the next one, of course, and give it a chance. I just hope I'm not quite as bored.
All right,
because everything was beige because of the sand, everything was the same color throughout the whole thing, and then it was just the setup. So I do look forward to seeing the next one to see where they go. All
right. Well, let's just hold that thought for a second, because we need to take a quick break, if that is all right, and we will be right back, and we'll be right back.
They won't even miss us.
No, they won't. All right, here we go. We'll be right back. Timey-wimey, we are back. And so we were talking about films and, sequels and so forth. But I just wanted to ask you about something that happened this year that I learnt about. And it's in regards to art, okay? Mm-hmm. And that is that in Copenhagen, in Denmark, okay, the National Danish Museum bought and commissioned a painting from a gentleman called Mr. Hunning, I believe his name is. And he sold them the picture or the painting for $84,000 if we convert from from now. The painting was called "Take the Money and Run."
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It was a blank canvas.
Yes.
Now, the interesting thing about this story, is that the museum themselves say that they actually do, in a way, consider this art because it does live up to all the expectations that were given. Now, apparently there is a legal case going on and apparently it won't be decided until January 16. But the idea that it is legitimate art because it meets up to the expectation of the story it is trying to tell.
Right.
And I just thought that's a fascinating concept. Is it, this is always the thing, is about, is it or isn't it art? Now, in this case...
art is very subjective.
Now, but in this case, there is no art at all. Okay, there is zero art. It is a blank canvas. But the title is "Take the Money and Run." So, and even the museum...
How is that not art?
And even the museum themselves have said they understand the concept of how this technically could be art.
Listen to me. That museum got more publicity from this piece that this person did than they paid for the piece.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, let's be honest. I feel like this was kind of a perfect storm for them. So whether or not it was intended to be a surprise or whether or not it was, put out there in a way to make us all feel like they didn't know it was coming, it just gets them more press. So I don't know that that's a bad thing.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, how do you feel about it? Do you think that is art or not?
I am not the arbiter of what art is. So I don't know. I think well, I tell you what, in the sense of it being an art at what they did to get that money, sure.
Yeah.
I mean that's obvious. Sometimes a good grift is the best art. I mean,
well, I was thinking the other day, do you think there'd be many people who'll be buying prints of Take the Money and Run to hang them on their living room walls? Like,
no, but all you had to do is put a blank canvas on your wall and say, look, I have a copy.
Because it's like,
it's an original.
How many Rembrandt prints and how many Gauguin prints are there hanging on people's living room walls? And
yeah,
like,
I mean, come on.
To hang Take the Money and Run and put it on your living room wall. It's
listen. Yeah. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay.
Yeah. I just thought it was a fascinating story. I mean, I know this all happened a couple of months ago, or several months ago, but I just
we haven't had a chance to talk that much.
I know. Yeah. So I just thought that was just an absolutely fucking hilarious story.
That's pretty damn funny.
And so forth. But there was something I did want to raise with you, and it's a little bit Halloween-y in a sense,
okay.
But it's a bit scientific as well. Well, we're going to talk about the lockdowns in Australia, but I think we'll probably save that for another episode.
Right.
And it's the concept of second brains in human people. We've talked about this a couple of times. It's like, do organs act as secondary brains? And there is, because there is now a lot of serious scientific talk that the answer to this is yes. The idea, and there have been many, many stories about people who've had transplants who have changed slightly in the way that they are or think or whatever. Now, it's often just been written down to the concept that they had major surgery, which has caused the change. But there is another school of thought, which is that they are absorbing memory because memory within organs, like the brain is not the only place that holds memory.
Right.
Now, we don't know this for a fact. This is all theory at the moment, but it's a fascinating theory. And I know it's something you're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I sent you something recently to read that kind of touches on that subject, Okay, so even recently, I believe there was a news story about a man who, I don't know if it was, okay, so it actually wasn't recently that I heard the story about the man. What I heard was science has come up with, they're coming out and saying now that there is a bundle of nerves in our stomach that acts as like a secondary brain to us. That it is such a bundle of nerves and connections there that it functions in ways that we didn't even expect, and it functions in ways that our brain does. And the story that I read about this man, actually it happened years and years ago. And it was about a man who had lived an entirely normal life, and then he had died, and they had done an autopsy, and they had found out that this man had a very rudimentary brain, like it was almost non-existent, that he had fluid, I guess, in his brain that kept his brain from growing normally. But see, here's the thing. He had lived an entirely normal life. But what they found is that mass in his stomach of nerves had acted as his brain, basically because the other one didn't form, the one in his abdomen, the cluster of nerves there actually started taking on the role that his brain would have taken on. It was odd and strange, and I remember hearing about it going, that's nuts. But then this new thing came out and has now kind of confirmed the science. So I don't see a very big difference between that and memories and thoughts and different things being stored throughout our whole body. And you're right. I've heard stories too, many of them, about people who have had transplants and not only changed as to who they are, but their hobbies different things that they all of a sudden became interested in, things they had never had interest in before. They happened to find out later that the person their transplant came from was into those things. So yeah, I do believe it's possible. Maybe all of us is carried in our cells in a way. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting thought process and concept to consider the possibilities of that. But of course we don't know about that for sure, about the organs, but I don't see how, if we can have a cluster of nerves in our stomach and our abdomen that can act as a brain, if we need it to in a way, then why couldn't that be the same case in the sense, not that they would act as a brain, but that they could carry memories and things like that in our organs?
Well, we know that there are certain animals that have secondary brains, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
That's not unusual. Well,
octopuses have what, 9 of them, 8 or 9 of them or something?
Do
One
they?
in each tentacle, and I think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I heard.
There is the thought that many dinosaurs, some of the big brachiosaurs, actually had multiple brains, more than one, because of the size and the distance from the actual primary brain to the rest of the body. It actually had secondary brains.
Well, I'm pretty sure my cat's tail has a brain of its own.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That reminds me of a story. My sister who caught her dog's tail in the door of her MG, and the dog went insane and started screaming. She opened up the door, right, and then she took the dog inside, and in light, it was just like about 11 o'clock at night. And she went in, and the dog started wagging its tail, but it had this open wound now on the tail, so it was flicking blood from one wall to the other. Or
no, that's not funny.
No. But it's like I still remember my father sort of saying, "Why do you think you did that?" And my sister said he was happy to have its tail out of the door, and it's like, oh my god, yeah.
Oh no, Warren.
I don't even know. At the time, it seemed funny. I don't even know why. It's sorry. Anyway, all right. Let's just. I don't. You should have seen my sister though in those days. She used to drive around this convertible MG with her driving, with this dog sitting in the passenger seat. Just these two things, no roof, right? This dog in the passenger seat.
That's what convertibles are. Yeah.
Fuck. Anyway, it's a very
long.
That's a very fucking long time ago. But yes. So yeah. But the idea that the storage of memory or retrieval of where all the information is stored is not centralized. It's actually spread out throughout the body. And now in saying this, we don't know this is true. This is all theory.
No, these are theories.
It's all theory though. But it's a fascinating idea,
It is. It is a fascinating idea.
And it's not saying that it's not meant to be like a 1950s horror movie where, sort of a person on death row, somebody gets the hand of a criminal and they want to start killing people. It's not like that.
No.
Or anything like that.
Maybe.
But, yeah. It's very Halloweenish, isn't it? But it's but it's interesting. I sort of thought it was interesting stuff.
Yeah, but see, if you go there, okay, then don't you also have to go to then if the multiverse theory is real? If you think about quantum entanglement and entangled particles. So if for those of you who don't know that, there's like twin particles, no matter where they are. If something happens to one, it happens to the other, no matter how far apart they are. So if those things are true, if those theories are true, and you put the multiverse together with entangled particles of quantum entanglement, then does what happens in your body then change the body then of everybody else in all the multiverses that are you? See, we could go deep right now, but let's not, because we need to stop this conversation. Exactly.
Brain hurts. It's like, I know. It's so. I mean, it would be something that even serious scientists would get bogged down in on a podcast, let alone us. It's quite amazing stuff. It is,
Well, yeah, physics literally blows my mind, and I want to understand it, but again, it's the theories are really out there sometimes, and I have a hard time with it. But there is a YouTube channel that my kid introduced me to, and it's called Kurzgesagt, which means in a nutshell in German. And you can watch their videos, and they explain different things from physics, like in the most interesting and simple ways with animation. So sometimes for people like me, it is a really great way to understand things like string theory or the heat death of the universe or things like that. So I really do enjoy it. They're kind of short, and they're made for people who don't really necessarily easily understand the concepts. And it makes it really simple for you to understand. So we're not promoted by them or anything, but I want to mention them, because if you guys are interested in interesting animated information, Kurzgesagt is the way to go. So it's in German, though, so I'm not going to tell you how to spell it. I can't remember. It's Kurz. So I think Kurz.
But it's amazing. If you look at, let's say, I think we're at a point now where, as science progresses, we just absorb it and we move forward, and absorb it and move forward. But if you think about, there are people on this planet, maybe not anymore, but there were people on this planet who were born in a world where slavery was still real. Well, slavery is still real today in Africa, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just deal with.
We're going to want to get deep here, Warren, because we were just trying to end the show. Remember?
I know. All right. And they moved from the point of the idea of serfdom in Russia, and before they died, they saw a human walk on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge step to move from being a slave on a communal property in Russia to watching a human walk on the moon. I mean,
yes.
Can you just the concept of that in one
lifetime? We've made massive technological advances in the last 100 years. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing to have happened. But yeah, I mean, come on. After Area 51, we have all the alien technology, and I'm going to stop now because I'm joking.
I know. and we have to call it an end anyway.
Yes, but and now let's end the show. On that note.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed another podcast of Cocktails and Conversations with Irish and Warren.
We digressed plenty.
Digression
aplenty.
I think we did. As we always do, we live up to our motto. So
we mean what we say.
That's exactly.
And sometimes we don't, though, because alcohol. So
true. But that, probably. Oh, anyway. So we will be back in the next week or a couple of weeks, something along those lines. And so, thank you for listening. We will be back. Anything you wanted to leave us with, Irish, or?
No, I mean, other than happy and warm thoughts, I'd like to leave everybody with that. But it's me, so let's just fucking go.
Okay, all right. So we'll do that. We'll just fucking go. All right. So
right on.
So all right. So fuck yous all, and all right. We're gone.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Wow, Warren.
I'm an Australian. I can say that. I'm an Australian. That's like a greeting. You walk up to somebody's house, knock on the door, and say "fuck yous all." How you going? That's like being warm and cute and cuddly.
Oh, just like me. No. Okay, that's it.
All right.
I'm finished.
All right.
Good night, Gracie.
Cheers, guys.